Hello, my lovely rosebuds, and welcome to the channel. Today, I will be talking about one of the books that I'm currently reading, called What Was the Family Business. A little bit of backstory. Me and my sister, we were in Books A Million in the urban book section. We opened up a random book, right? We opened up this random book. And on the page that we opened it up on, hold on. Spoilers if you're interested in reading. But on page 191, right? Tanya was taking a long time, Rio thought as he knocked on the bathroom door. The knock startled Tanya, so she looked at the door and spoke in a sweet voice. I'll be just a minute, baby. Rio thought, I'm about to fuck the shit out of her tonight. He pumped the air with his hands in front of him, imitating how he was going to hit it from the back. He started to walk towards the bed, holding his manhood in his hand, anticipating the sex that was about to occur. Tanya opened the door and came out of the bathroom, wearing nothing. She approached Rio and hugged him from behind. She started massaging his shoulders, and when she felt that he was comfortable, she pulled a knife that she had gently removed in between her ass cheeks. She sliced Rio from ear to ear and watched him bleed out. He collapsed to the floor, holding his neck with both hands. He never saw it coming. And so when we found out that homegirl had a knife in her booty cheeks and ended up killing the man, we were like, we need to buy this book. But I don't know why growing up I wasn't really interested in reading a lot of urban books, but this made me feel, this turned me into like I need to dive into more urban books. Hence, Carl Weapons, A Family Business. So I ended up buying a digital copy because I'm not good at keeping books, and I think I just bought my Kindle, so I had to read on the Kindle. I ended up reading a couple chapters and I fell off, and then one day I was on a gaming app or whatever, and there was a pop-up ad for BT Plus, and then there was like a little icon for the show about the book, and I was like, hold on, I have this book. So I was like, I'm finally at the moment in my life where there was a series about a book that was made, and I haven't watched the series yet, but I have the book, and I kind of started already reading the book. So I decided to read the book first and then watch the series. So hopefully, I don't know how the series goes with the books. I did see that there is a spinoff series based on a spinoff or one of the last books when they go to New Orleans. So I'm hoping that each season is one book. So after I read the first book, I want to watch the first season. I'm still debating if I'm going to be breaking that down episode by episode. Yeah, let's get into the craziness that is the Duncan family. Okay, so a quick synopsis as a spoiler-free, like this your spoiler moment before we get into the mess. Meet the Duncans, a prominent family from Jamaica, Queens. They may be known for their big house, fancy cars, and lavish lifestyle, but that doesn't make them immune from some over-the-top drama. Elsie Duncan has run a successful car dealership in Jamaica, Queens for more than 30 years, but when the recession hits and the competition gets a little rough, some say it's time for him to retire. Palm trees and golf sounds like fun, but Elsie still has a few tricks up his sleeve. Which one of his kids can he trust to run the family business? Paris could give any supermodel a run for her money. When she walks in the room, all heads turn. But it's her anger issue and knack for getting into trouble that most people remember. She's most dangerous than anyone gives her credit for, except perhaps her father. Orlando. Oh wow, it cuts off. Wow, what did it cut off? Orlando is the most obvious choice to lead the Duncans into the future. He has proven himself to be quite the businessman over the years, but sometimes the most obvious choice isn't always the best choice. Harris Grant is married to Elsie's oldest daughter. In Harris's opinion, he's the most qualified to run the family business. Now he just needs to convince Elsie and make sure no one discovers the secret he's been keeping. Harris isn't the only one with skeleton in his closet. The Duncan family has been keeping a secret of their own, a deep, dark secret that, if revealed, will shock the entire community. And so, I mean, with that, who wouldn't want to read that, right? At first, I was like, oh, cool, a black family business. Little did I know the shit that was about to happen. So, in order of the family members, right, we're going to start with Elsie Duncan and his wife, Chippy. Then, I think after that, the kids in order are Junior, Vegas, Orlando, London, her husband Harris, and then the two twins, Rio and Paris. Now, the book starts off with Paris's point of view, right? Paris being the wild child. So it starts off with her being in interrogation for her boyfriend's murder, because we learn later on in the book she was at a club with her with not just her boyfriend. She was at the club with the mayor's son, or like the governor's son, who she was dating. Not her boyfriend, but they were dating. And some shit goes down, robbery gone wrong, he gets shot, and she has his blood all over him, and she's now a suspect in his murder. With Harris being the family lawyer, he comes in, swoops in, saves the day. And then she, as far as I know, again, I'm only up to chapter 35. As far as I know, she has not been convicted for the crime. She's got other shit to worry about, trust. But that issue, the issue of her being involved in his murder, she's no longer involved in that aspect. But when she goes to his funeral and makes a fucking scene, clearly this little girl does not give a shit. She didn't really want to be with him anyway, because he was a goody two-shoe for her, and of course she's a bad girl, or she's a wild child, and she needs more than just, a goody two-shoe. But she wanted to impress her dad, because she's a daddy's girl, and she's one of the younger ones, one of the younger siblings, so she wants to impress her dad. Okay. So at the funeral, she starts hemming up on everybody, not on everybody, but she starts to put on this actress like, oh my god, da-da-da. And it was like very, very out of character, because obviously we all know how she really acts, but she was sitting there acting like as if he was the love of her life. They were so in love, like they were gonna get married. Like, you were, again, just dating. This was just like a brief moment. Chill. There's that. We learned that her relationship with her sister Lyndon isn't really great, at least right now, because way back when they were in college, when her sister was in college, she would go visit her sister, and at the time her sister was dating some white man. I forgot his name, but she was dating some white man, and then she ended up sleeping with her sister's boyfriend, and so ever since then their relationship has been trash. I mean, they have so much animosity. Paris spills to Harris, or I don't know how, I forgot how he finds out, but somehow he finds out that London was keeping a secret London was keeping a secret that she was a virgin when she married Harris, even though she wasn't, because she was with another dude. And so that created tension between that relationship, but we'll get there when we get there. With everything going on with Elsie Duncan, right? We're going to jump back and forth. So Elsie wants to retire with his wife, sail down to Florida, and, live the retired life. But he feels like something's going down in the business, in the motor vehicle business, where he feels like his suppliers, or he's someone with the supplier, cut the contract, and now he can't get the cars that he wants, right? So he tries to make a deal with Alejandro. So he sends one of his goons named Miguel to handle a contract of the agreement that they made, even though Elsie does not trust. Elsie doesn't trust Alejandro. With him trying to retire, he's trying to set up for one of his children who's going to take over the company, to make sure that once he does keep hands off, everything continues running smoothly. But he doesn't 100% trust to cut the cord yet. He does name Orlando the successor of his business, right? Even though he already named his successor, he's still like around and calling the shots. Again, making deals with old friends he from way back when. After he makes a deal with Alejandro and gets his old car back, right, he sends a contact named Miguel. And so for some reason, I guess in the tour, or when Miguel visits Elsie Duncan to handle business, Paris obviously sees him, thinks he's cute, but because Elsie's protective over his daughter, he basically like, do not even look her way, or it's your ass. But Paris doesn't know. Paris doesn't listen, so she ends up hooking up with Miguel. But because the deal that they had for Elsie to get an old car back that he, I guess, lost in like some kind of card game years back, they end up kidnapping Miguel, and they And that's when we learn that in the shipment in the car, Elsie is waiting for some cocaine. Oh no, cocaine or heroin or something like that. So now we know they doing a little bit more than just selling cars. They're also selling drugs. And so it seems like apparently Elsie has not all of New York, but Elsie has majority of New York and some of the Northeast area locked down on the drug ring or whatever. So now that we know that drugs are also in the game, we know that that's not the only reason why Elsie can't be completely hands off, right? Because it's not just the motor vehicles, it's also now the drugs that are involved. Elsie's, just trying to make sure everything's smooth before he finally officially pieces out. I don't think we hear much from Junior. I don't think none of the chapters are really from Junior. Let me see. Junior, I think, is just like a informant, not informant, but like I wouldn't call it a soldier either. Most of the point of views are from Paris, Harris, London, Orlando, and Elsie. Yeah, we don't get much of a view from Junior. But y'all let me know in the comments if I missed something about Junior. Vegas is completely out the picture. I don't know where he's at. He seems like he's a black sheep of the family. He seems like he's a black sheep of the family. We don't really know much about Vegas right now. Again, I'm only on chapter 35. We don't really know much about Vegas. But Orlando, who is now the successor of the business, he is like his brothers and his father, right? He helps his father do his bidding. He helps sell cars and sell drugs. And he also helps illegal activity of like beat downs and all that crap. Again, I don't know if I call it a soldier. Definitely not a confidant. I don't want to say confidant, but some dirty work. All we know is he has a house on Long Island or Long Island City or something like that, away from everything, where he pays for prostitutes so he can just fuck on something and call it a day. But one day, he meets this lovely lady. Her name is Ruby, Jamaican immigrant. She just came from Jamaica, and she obviously, with a lot of immigrants, come to the United States to try and make more money to have a better life for their family back in their home country. Nowadays, you can't even say that, because the way that we be struggling here, like, America is not what it used to be anymore. Like, the American dream, the idea of the American dream has been demolished over the years, especially with the current administration. Anyway, so Orlando, now being the new head of the company or the new successor of the company, he is now needed a lot more. So him getting all frisky with Ruby hinders him being the boss, basically. So like, he has this one night where he basically falls in love with her, and anytime he goes to this house, it's like in the boonies, so that he doesn't really get much cell service, so he's left alone. But that doesn't work anymore now that you're the head of the company, because now your dad is calling you off the hook. His phone is ringing off the hook, and it becomes an issue between him and Ruby. Like, they go out to a dinner, and she turns his phone off for him. Which, girl, what is wrong with you? You don't turn no man's phone off for him. Then we get to Paris. Not Paris. Wow. Then we get to London. London is married to Harris. Harris, who is the family lawyer, and a little bit of a bitch. I don't know. I'm reading the book, and Harris just gives bitch to me. So, they have a daughter together. Mariah, I think her name is. I could be wrong. They have a daughter together, and I think that's the only grandchild that Elsie and Chippy have. So they love that little girl to death. Most of them, I think, all live in the same house. Again, except for Orlando, who has a secret apartment. But I think most of them live in the house together. London and Harris, their marriage is starting to fall apart. London feels like Harris is cheating on her, which I feel too, because every time she tries to bring it up, he gets really sensitive about his phone. Harris is desperate to be the next successor, even though he's just a lawyer and he doesn't know the full capacity of the business. I feel like he isn't the right one to lead. Obviously, it should be one of his sons. Everyone, was it in the beginning when he had the meeting to figure out who his successor was, everyone was like, oh, it's gonna be Vegas, or some of them thought it was gonna be Vegas or Junior, but again, Vegas hasn't been around in a minute, so it ended up being Orlando. London thinks Harris is cheating, but because she kept a secret of she was never a virgin when they got married, Harris is now distancing himself from London. In one chapter, she has a flat tire and basically almost gets sexually assaulted and almost get well. It was a robbery to almost sexual assault, but then some white man comes, saves her. She starts flirting with him and gets his number, even though it just started off friendly. But then after London keeps pressing the issue of like Harris talking to another woman, it becomes domestic, and he hits her. And so, out of spite, she ends up seeing the man, and they end up having, I don't know if they have sex, but he definitely eats her out. So now she's cheating on him. Again, we don't know, we don't have a confirmation of Harris cheating. It's just an inclination. But now we know London is cheating. Now the twins. So we did talk about Paris a little bit, but Rio is the gay twin. And so Elsie does not like the fact that Rio is gay, obviously, because heterosexual black men can never be okay with just themselves. So, or heterosexual black men can never be okay with gay men expressing themselves freely. Was it Rio owns a club, I think? He owns a club, and because the family obviously deals in drugs, Rio, I don't know if he deals in his club, but I know Rio definitely has designer drugs that LC supplies to have in his club. Because of the whole shitty deal with Alejandro, once the whole situation with the car happens of like someone stole the car and the drugs inside, they feel like it was a trap and that it was a setup from Alejandro. And so they kidnap Miguel. Once they kidnap Miguel, Alejandro gets wind of it. And then they learn that Miguel is Alejandro's only son. And so as like a equal of like, you have my son, Elsie sends Rio out there, so he's like, you have my son as like collateral damage, which does not end well because Paris ends up killing him after she has sex with him, which is crazy. Like literally, she has sex with him just to see if she can get information out of him, but he doesn't know. I don't know if he knows anything. With what chapter I'm in, the way that the vehicle was intercepted, it could have been one of the other drug gangs, right? One of the other crews in New York that already killed one of Elsie's close friends that they were working closely together, and might also be involved in the robbery from the club earlier that they killed Paris's boyfriend, who was the mayor's son. Stay with me here. Elsie thinks Alejandro setting them up. Paris ends up killing the son, which she didn't realize was Alejandro's only son. And I don't think any of them except for Harris and Elsie know that Rio was sent over there to be, I guess, their collateral in case anything happens to Miguel, which too late now. So they send Rio to LA. He's stuck out there. Hopefully he don't die, honestly. So we do get a point of view from Harris. Again, we don't know if he's cheating, but he's desperately trying to get Elsie's approval. Ever since he married London, those at the day of their wedding, Elsie took him to a place where basically he showed Harris the true side of their business. It was like, are you in or out? On the wedding day, mind you. So he was like, are you in or are you out? Because if you're in, then you're the family lawyer and you need to help me with all my legal situations. Because it makes sense, right? In Elsie's situation, you would need someone to be the family lawyer. And who else but the man that his daughter married? After Elsie learns that Paris kills Miguel, we learn that when she got sent off to boarding school, she actually got sent off to assassin school overseas so that when Paris comes back, she is basically a trained killer for the family. She was trying to get information out of him for the family, right? So it's like you either give information or you die. So she wanted to have one last rendezvous and then killed him. But obviously, Elsie's upset because that was their only leverage that they had on Alejandro. So what is it? Chapter 34, page 234. What is it? She said, yeah, he was Alejandro's messenger boy and a thief, I replied, although doubt was starting to creep in. Usually I could talk my way out of any situation with Daddy, but this time he was mad as hell. Had I killed a Fed? Had I slept with a Fed? Fuck. Then Daddy told me who he was, and it was much, much worse than a Fed. Paris, he was Alejandro's son. Do you have any idea how badly you screwed up? Oh no. I suddenly felt sick to my stomach. I'm sorry, Daddy, I didn't know. Of course you didn't know. It's not your job to know. You're trained to kill, Paris, but only when I say so. What did you think Alejandro's going to do now in exchange for his son's death? Again, they just sent Rio to LA to be the collateral for Alejandro. I didn't reply, but I knew the answer. You started a fucking war, and the only way out of this is to give him the life of someone in our family. I spoke in a terrified whisper. What are you saying, Daddy? He reached in his pocket and pulled out a .38, pointing it directly at my head. Lord Jesus. This can be happening. A few hours ago, I was getting fucked by a hot Latin man, and now And now here I was with my father holding a gun to my head. I refused to accept that this was real. Daddy wouldn't kill me. I was his baby girl, the apple of his eye, the child that could do no wrong. Still, Daddy had taught me a rule a long time ago, and now his words were ringing in my head. Never pull out a gun unless you plan on using it. Paris, you're turning into more of a problem than a problem solver, and we can't have that. That's crazy. And then she says, let's be real, Daddy. I turned out just the way you wanted me to. You didn't send me to boarding school over there in Europe. You sent me to mercenary school. And I'm just a product of my environment. You didn't want me to be a linguist like London or a chemist like Orlando. You wanted something different than Junior. And that's what you got, a killer. Nobody would see coming. Your own personal hit woman. No. In his eyes, I thought I saw his resolve wavering. So I went for his sentimental side. I'm your baby girl. All I ever wanted to do was please you. So if it was going to make you happy by pulling that trigger, then do what you gotta do. Because I love you, Daddy. I closed my eyes and waited for the end to come. What kind of family is this, right? First of all, you slept with your sister's boyfriend in college. And she was a teenager, mind you, because she's younger. Or she just became a teacher or something. So there's that. You got sent off to mercenary school to be an assassin for your dad, who's supposed to be a car dealership business owner. This shit is just crazy. I did end up seeing a trailer for the show, and it looks like a Tubi show, and so it looks good. It just looks good. I need to know if I need to read the second book for the first season as well, or just like I said, each book goes by each season. So far, this book is insane, and I cannot wait for the rest. Thank you for watching the video. Hope you enjoyed it. Leave your opinions about any other urban books or any book recommendations in the comments. Again, I'm debating on if I want to review it episode by episode, but I am going to continue reading each book. And then I heard there's a spin-off series, so I definitely want to get into that. The next video I'll probably drop will be about the cash trip, or the next few episodes for season 1 of Melbourne. I was watching some videos about Janet and Gina in later seasons, and it looks like it gets raunchy, so I'm definitely going to continue watching Melbourne. If you have any other recommendations about other international housewives, feel free to leave them in the comments as well. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.